Have you ever looked up at the night sky and felt like the stars are just dots far away, untouchable? I used to think the same until I discovered something Richard Feynman taught me that completely changed how I see the universe. Distance, time, even separation, they're not what we think. The universe is connected in ways that seem impossible, almost magical. Tonight, I want to take you on a journey beyond what you thought was real, to see the hidden threads that link everything in space and time. What if I told you that what seems far away is actually closer than you've ever imagined? I used to imagine space as a vast, empty void stretching endlessly between stars and galaxies. I pictured it as nothingness, a place where life and matter barely existed. But the more I studied physics, the more I realized how wrong I was. Space is not empty. It is alive with forces, fields, and particles interacting in ways that I cannot always see. Feynman taught me that every point in space is connected to every other point in ways I had never considered. Even what seems far away can influence what is close to me. I began to understand that distance is not as simple as a number on a ruler. It is a perception shaped by the limits of my senses. What I once thought of as separate and isolated is actually part of a vast web of connections. When I learned this, it changed the way I think about the universe. Stars, planets, and galaxies are not just distant objects, they are active participants in a cosmic network. Every force, every particle, every interaction is linked. The emptiness I once imagined was an illusion. Space is full of energy, movement, and subtle interactions that shape reality. Seeing this made me feel small, yet also incredibly connected. The universe is not a cold, empty place. It is vibrant, dynamic, and full of possibility. I realize that distance is just a concept, a limitation of how I see the world. And that understanding this changes everything about how I experience the cosmos. When I first learned about quantum physics, it completely blew my mind. I discovered that at the tiniest scales, the universe doesn't follow the rules I thought were absolute. Particles behave in ways that seem impossible, and distance, the concept I had trusted my whole life, starts to lose all meaning. I learned about quantum entanglement, where two particles, no matter how far apart, can instantly affect each other. Billions of light years might separate them, yet a change in one particle immediately influences the other. At first, I couldn't believe it. It felt like the universe was playing a trick on me. How could something so far away be connected so intimately? Feynman explained these phenomena with clarity that made me realize I had been thinking about reality all wrong. The universe doesn't care about near or far. These labels exist only in my mind. What I perceive as distant is simply a limitation of how I measure and experience the world. This idea changed everything for me. It made me see the cosmos not as isolated points scattered in space, but as a deeply connected web. The farther I looked, the more I understood that every particle, every force, every interaction is linked in ways I cannot fully grasp. Accepting this truth was both unsettling and beautiful. It humbled me, but also filled me with awe. Reality is stranger and more magical than I ever imagined. Distance is not a barrier, it is an illusion, and embracing that opens the door to seeing the universe as a living, interconnected whole. When I first learned about gravity and curved space, it completely changed how I see the universe. I used to think of space as flat, like a giant stage where everything simply moves in straight lines. But then I discovered that massive objects like stars and planets actually bend space itself. Time, too, is affected by this curvature, stretching and warping in ways I could hardly imagine. It blew my mind to realize that a star millions of light years away can influence what happens here on Earth. Its gravity can bend the path of light, affect our instruments, and even shape the flow of time in subtle ways. What I once thought of as distance suddenly became much more complicated. It wasn't just a simple measure between 2 points. It depended on how space itself is shaped and stretched. Feynman helped me understand that distance is not fixed. It's relative, dependent on the geometry of the universe and the forces at play. The universe is alive, bending, and communicating across vast spaces, and the numbers on a ruler can never fully capture that reality. Every time I think about this, I feel a mixture of awe and humility. The cosmos is far more intricate than I ever imagined. What I perceived as empty or distant is actually dynamic, full of interaction, and constantly shaping the universe. Understanding that distance is an illusion has made me more curious, more attentive, and more grateful for the incredible complexity of the world around me. It reminds me that reality is far stranger and more beautiful than I ever thought possible. Feynman taught me something that changed the way I see everything. Curiosity is the true compass for exploring the universe. I used to think science was about certainty, about measuring, calculating, and knowing exactly how everything works. But the more I learned, the more I realized that uncertainty is at the heart of reality. Distance, time, and separation are not fixed. They are illusions. When I embrace this, I feel both humbled and exhilarated. The universe is stranger, more interconnected, and more alive than I ever imagined. What I once thought was far away is part of a web of connections that stretches across space and time. Understanding even a small part of this web fills me with awe and wonder. I've learned that questioning everything opens doors I didn't even know existed. Every time I challenge my assumptions, every time I explore what seems impossible, I discover new layers of reality. Feynman showed me that the universe is not meant to be fully tamed. It's meant to be explored with curiosity, courage, and imagination. This perspective changes how I live my life, too. It makes me see the world as alive, full of hidden connections and endless possibilities. The universe isn't distant or separate. It's intimately linked to everything I do, everything I see, and everything I feel. When I accept this, I feel a deep sense of wonder and responsibility. Curiosity lets me see the hidden magic in reality. It reminds me that the universe is not just out there, it's here, all around me, waiting to be discovered.